Do we come up with an intro music yet?
No, we still don't have intro music for B Block. It's a shame, but you know, but there's really not much we can do about that. But today we're back on the Media Virus podcast. This is the B Block of the Media Virus podcast, and today's the title of the episode that we're dealing with is the Green Curtain, exposing HB, which stands for House Bill HB98, and the Delaware monopoly machine. And let me ask you a question. What if I told you that there was so-called legislation of cannabis in Delaware isn't about freedom, but it's about control? What if I told you that behind closed doors, a handful of lobbyists, liquor tycoons, and cowardly lawmakers are quietly pushing a bill that would bury the soul of the hemp movement under government key and corporate cash? Welcome to the Media Virus podcast. Today we peel back the layers of HB98, Delaware's cannabis control bill. It's not about safety. It's about public health. It's about keeping the little guy out and letting the big Goliath build yet another gate. Our guest today is founder of Botana Organics, a local Delaware wellness business built on truth, transparency, and plant medicine. They've been on the front lines of this battle, educating people on the endocannabinoid system and helping customers reclaim their health from the inside out. But now they're being targeted, silenced, regulated to death. So let's ask some questions that the mainstream media just won't ask. I think we lost Jesse there. There he is. We got Jesse back.
All right. Sorry about that.
And joining us today, I'm sorry, Cameron. I didn't. I knew we were having guests, but I didn't have any information. If you would please introduce yourself and what DHAA is all about.
All right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity. My name is Cameron Gilbert. I'm the owner of Cosmic Smoke and Cosmic Distro here in Dover, Delaware. So we're a retailer and a wholesaler. And recently, after the HB98 debacle, we founded DHAA, which is the Delaware Healthy Alternatives Association. It's a chapter of the American Healthy Alternatives Association, which has 12 and now its 13th chapter. Our mission is basically to hire lobbyists, work with politicians, and defeat this bill, or achieve the correct amendments that are.
Thank you for what you're doing. No, seriously, I've been saying like this industry has to have lobbyists. We have lobbyists, right? There are and I'm like, there's so much money here. We have to have our own. So I think that's that's an important. I've been saying that. I know I said it to Jesse in conversation. I didn't mean. I'm sorry. I interrupt people.
No worries.
It's part of my. So please, please continue with what you were. You hire lobbyists, and what else? What else does the organization do?
That's basically it. We're basically just trying to gather everybody around this one central issue, which is keeping small business around and helping the consumer. And also supporting a free market, which is what's at stake here.
Absolutely. And so just I want to get kind of back on script now that we have an idea of who everybody is. Pardon me, I was inhaling cannabis. All right. So can you explain to our listeners? Because if you were to search up House Bill, because Mike searched it, I searched it, they talk specifically about drinks and how the drinks could be legislated. And I guess maybe it's my Gen X mind thinking a little bit like maybe that's not such a bad idea because the drinks specifically, I feel like people maybe don't take seriously, but can you explain what's really beneath this legislation and what it would mean for like small hemp businesses like yours?
Jesse, if you want to take the lead on that, I think you've become
I'll
very
take that
vocal.
one.
Thanks.
So yeah, I guess HB98 is kind of the legislative version of like a bait and switch. So they talk about regulation, but what they're really doing is suffocating the whole industry. So it's a backdoor type of bill where they sneak this wording on like page 11 or 12 that basically puts marijuana and hemp under the same umbrella. So it's really going to strip the soul out of the hemp industry in Delaware and hand it to just a handful of corporations. And basically, the whole reason that they want to do that is to capitalize on all that extra tax money, because as we all know, the dispensaries have quite a high tax on everything that they sell in there. Sometimes it's up to 25%. So it all funnels back to the money.
It always, I mean, it's always money, and it's always, I still feel that there are still prohibitionists out there. Now, see,
Yep.
Now the reason this affects me and why I'm, want to shout from the masses is, I enjoy THCA very much. THCA is a psychoactive, much like marijuana. Or how it's
THCA is not psychoactive until it's converted to Delta 9 THC. So in its raw form, it's actually non-psychoactive. It's kind of like the difference between like grape juice and wine.
Exactly.
So effectively, they want to make grape juice illegal just because it could be made into wine.
But it really seems like by that analogy, then we go back to the juice. The drink is the wine, right?
Mm.
You know what I mean? By that analogy, it's been processed and not fermented, but it's been,
That's the
it's
Delta
gone
9
through.
that's already active.
It's
That's true.
what's active in the drinks, and I think that's why people can get behind it. But it's kind of, there's backdoor wording, and it sets a precedent.
Yep.
And that's where
They're kind of lumping everything together so that they can regulate.
yeah, I just spilled stuff all over my keyboard. But why do you think liquor stores are being handed this exclusive right to sell THC beverages under this bill? Like there'd be no other outlet for them. Is it public safety, or do you think it's corporate? You think it's the liquor industry?
Surely corporate greed at this point.
And I think it's
Delaware is a very small state.
There's everyone's
three big distributors for liquor and the like here. So if they centralize this into their 3-tier system, like the bill says, it would basically pass all infused beverages back to those same 3 distributors, which would effectively.
You guys hear me now?
Yeah, we got you, Jesse.
and
Sorry.
frankly, Delaware, like you said, Delaware's small, and
Small state.
There's still some good old boys, and it's a payback to that industry. The liquor industry thought that they were going to get marijuana sales without question, but they didn't.
Yep.
This is a softball. Sorry.
Yeah. Quite literally. Yeah. It's honestly pitiful. I mean, like I can show you. I mean, we have a drink over here that's 10 milligrams, so it would fall in their same, guidance. What they say, it's got scannable lab reports on it. It's got the warnings. It's got everything that they're looking for, but I won't be able to sell it because I'm the little guy. That's basically where we're at here.
I think on earlier today on our meeting, they were talking about how during the first testimony, the first hearing at the House, one of the people who spoke was, I think, an owner of one of the 3 alcohol distributors in Delaware, and he was actually just saying straight up how the hemp industry has stolen a lot of profits from the alcohol industry. A lot of people are switching over.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't steal your joy from tomorrow.
Right.
If I get if I have a couple of beers, the next day I'm in agony. If I smoke too much, I might oversleep. I might. You know what I mean? But I wake up the next morning without any significant health issues or feeling of that health issue. And go ahead.
Sorry, and to attest to what Jesse said earlier, I think it's very important that we're exposing the hypocrisy in this thing, because I mean, you can go into any alcohol store right now, any liquor store, and buy a seltzer that says Sunny D on it, which is quite literally a kid's breakfast drink. Is Sunny D, but they're then they victim or criminalize the entire industry that we're in.
Yep.
Well, I think we might have answered this question, but like, why do you believe that the Delaware government is targeting hemp now after it's been safely on the market since 2018? Who benefits the most? And we've talked about liquor distributors, but who else benefits from this?
Well, and as you may know, I mean, the incoming recreational dispensaries they've been working that legislation for the past 2 years. So pretty soon, probably early 2026, you're going to have recreational dispensaries come in and start selling licensed state-owned state licensed marijuana in Delaware, and that it increases their market share to get rid of people like us.
Yep. Basically, HB98 is going to clear the field for all the big players by removing their competition, which is the number one competition is the hemp industry, which we've been serving the community for years and delivering good results. So the people who are going to benefit are those that are state sanctioned, those dispensaries, the alcohol lobbies, and any group that profits from exclusivity and limited competition. So they want to just stifle all their competition before they even start.
Well, I think where I was going when I started talking about THCA and why this affects me is because one of the great things that you brought up, Jesse, was that that means that's not just this new influx of this availability of this flower that's we're finding everywhere. Mm-hmm. That's affecting CBD, CBN, CBG. That's affecting all the cannabinoids because they're all derived from hemp.
Exactly.
So the local CBD shop that you go to and you trust, for those who go to CBD shops, and this could potentially shut them down, not in the instant, but in the repercussions. Yep. And that's a whole lot of access, and then people have to go, and that's just going to drive prices higher.
Yep.
Because it's not just to me, it's not just about it's about availability, and it's about price regulation and open market.
No doubt.
Because if it's not an open market, then that drives pricing higher. Just like there's a lot of hemp products you can't get in New Jersey.
Right.
New Jersey's, but the price that they want for their flower is unfucking believable.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That tax.
It's a whole lot, because they charge you at an arm and a leg, and then they tax you on it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's a lot of money for the weight, and then it's especially where across the bridge in Pennsylvania, where it's just farm bill country. You can, it's the Wild West.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I don't mean it to be that in a bad way, of course, but
my own 7 years into. I'm really worried about some of our clients who have come to depend on some of these products just for pain, sleep, their everyday needs. One of the bad aspects of dispensaries that everything has to be grown in state. So Delaware doesn't really have the hemp industry of products that can compete with the national market. All these people have been getting used to the amazing effects of taking hundreds of milligrams of CBD every day for their arthritis. Now they're not going to be able to even afford CBD. So they're going to be pushed back to the black market or big pharma or who knows what. So this bill doesn't really care about people, but only corporate interests and their money.
That's the kick in the ass. And quick plug, before the show today, I applied some of this
that's
a topical cream that this is put out by Meta Hemp.
3,000 milligrams.
This is a fantastic. This shit's magic. And I picked this up at Botana Organics. For a very reasonable, for as much as you can, order it on the internet, you can go and pick it up from Jesse. So
they'd want to ban online sales as well in Delaware, so you couldn't even order that stuff off the web and get it shipped.
And the reason I brought it up, the reason I brought it up now is he's talking about state. This is Colorado. These folks are in Colorado. So, right now we have this, cornucopia of availability, and that's the way it should stay. And we shouldn't, they should let the hemp industry thrive in responsible hands. I know there are shops out there, I'm sure, that are irresponsible, and they need to be driven, out of the market. I think there needs to be some kind of, regulation when it comes to selling to like minors, and there needs to be stiff jail time for anybody that does it, because, that's how it should be.
It needs to be handled at least like on the level of the way that they do actual tobacco now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And technically it already is to a level. It's just they really just need to step up their enforcement. So DATE, which is the Department of Alcohol and Tobacco Enforcement in Delaware, those are the guys that are sending people into the stores and making sure that ID checks are being done and et cetera, but they're not even, they could easily enforce, create some sort of regulation and then go enforce it.
Yeah.
So
no, that's.
And we've always been kind of ahead of the curve on self-regulation. I think Cameron and I were talking before the show, just the extra work that we do and looking at different independent lab tests and just making sure we can find the cleanest products out there. It's really important to us because it's more of a mission. I started the business more of a mission to heal people and help people rather than just to make money.
Right.
So we've already been doing the self-regulating and making sure that we're selling to people that are actually going to use the products for the right reason and that they can get clean and potent products.
Mm-hmm.
And I can show you my hemp handler's license that has, the federal farm bill definition on it that says that I can legally transport and store hemp with this classification. If they pass this bill, I will still hold this license, but I will still be a felon at the same time because I'm possessing something that's the same level as heroin. It's absurd.
That's a good point. This bill would literally be ignoring the federal law. So federal law is supposed to supersede state law in a lot of matters like these, but they're going it completely against the very clear guidelines of the federal law.
Well, what are you guys hearing from your customers? Are they aware of what's happening? I know you're bringing it to everyone's attention, but how are they responding when they learn, that this might be stripped away from them?
Yeah, I've been struggling with kind of being the bearer of bad news for the past 2 weeks. Every time someone comes in, I don't like to give bad news, but had to, ante up to that. And they're genuinely shocked. Most people never know that this bill existed or was even heard yet. Once they learn that it could criminalize the products that they've been using for things like anxiety, sleep, and pain, they really feel betrayed by the people that they voted into office. And this is not what legalization was supposed to look like. Delaware has been kind of promising legalization for almost 3 years now. The public wanted access, but all we're getting is like monopolies. I think we were confusion.
We were a year into doing this podcast when legalization hit. And we celebrated it. And I made the joke that I don't have to go to Jersey anymore and visit my parents.
And here we are.
And while waiting for them to roll out legalization, this hemp, upsurge kind of, I guess, sidelined it, just completely sidelined it. So are you how does someone who is working in the legally right now in the hemp industry in Delaware how do they get in contact with your organization to like maybe become more involved? To the people that we got to get the people that really care. The people that really care are the people that's going to affect directly, and those are the people where it's going to hurt their bottom line, and then it's going to people where it's going to hurt them. The patients. It's going to hurt their well-being. How do we get in touch with you guys?
So we're actually building a website right now, and this way you'll be able to sort of keep up with the news, the pace of the bill as it moves through the legislature. We'll have updates on that, and then for the businesses, we'll have we'll offer memberships, which is really just a donation. It'll be a membership that gets you access to information, our legal team, and stuff like that, but that money will go straight towards lobbyist efforts. Since it is a nonprofit organization, it'll just, basically fund the effort to kill the bill or make a more sensible one.
Now, the House bill, for some reason, didn't pass the first time. Or am I misunderstanding what's going on?
No, so it was first introduced, and then it was in committee, a smaller economic development committee or something. They actually passed it on its merits that the prime sponsor Heffernan would make the proper adjustments to the bill. So they did pass it, but they agreed to tweak it in whatever that promise means.
Some of the most confusing language and political jargon that you can imagine. They passed it, but they didn't agree to the terms.
Exactly.
So basically now it's all up in the air. It could be whatever they want it to be.
And talking to my legal team and the lobbyists as well, it seemed to me like a strategy that they use to rapidly push the bill in some cases. They can tell you that they're going to change it, but they really don't have to.
Right.
So we basically are floating on an empty promise right now.
We heard some funny news today. One of our volunteer lawyers that we're working with, she let us know that she had a conversation with the sponsor of the bill, who Cameron just mentioned, and the woman actually admitted that she didn't read the bill. So this is our elected official that we're voting for. They don't even read the bills that they're passing.
It's hilarious.
Or maybe that's just an excuse because she's getting a lot of pushback because it's not a good bill. But now she's just saying she never read it in the first place. Yet it was
so you
still
signed.
passed.
Yeah. So we have lawmakers that sign bills that they don't read, or they bold-faced lie to whomever asked them the question.
Yep.
So say we were a day late on finding out about this, and they had already had a hearing. Nobody shows up. Nobody knows. They would have passed this. The same committee would have been just as uneducated as they were prior. They would have passed the bill, and it would have kept going. And they probably would have had the same strategy to keep it under the radar and pass it as quickly as possible. Nobody would have known, and then it would have just been boom, illegal like that. But just because we had the people to find out and spread the word in 12 short hours, there was a number of people that were able to show up and oppose the bill.
Yes, I mean, it's fantastic that somebody was plugged in enough to to see this, to read it and understand what it meant. Not just someone in the cannabis community, somebody in our sphere of people took the time to do more than the lawmaker who sponsored the bill took to read and understand what it meant. And that's why we know about it.
The day that it was going up for vote.
The day that it was going, that's
which means it's been in the system for a while.
Oh, right. Yeah, of course. And other people, the people that are on the other side of this, had time to lobby and help the representatives write this bill.
Even if you sponsored it without reading it, you had plenty of time to read it after the fact.
Yep. This was probably introduced this was probably being written in fall to winter of
like the last session, definitely.
And go ahead,
Sorry,
Jeff.
I just want to highlight too how sneaky they really kind of snuck the definition at the end. I think it's on page 13 or 12. The whole bill is made to look like it's only about marijuana and alcohol. And then if you read very closely on page 12, it says marijuana entails drinks, flour, and all consumable hemp products. So that's the line that they really snuck in there to put marijuana and hemp under the same umbrella, making only the dispensaries able to sell it. So it's just something, one little sentence, something as sneaky as that.
Well, that's how the whole government's run. I mean, that's how they get budgets for bridges to nowhere and shit like that, because you know it's deep where in the bill, because and it's just like they present it like something you can almost wrap your head around.
Behind, right?
You can almost get behind it, and then but for me, everything's a slippery slope. Anytime I don't just the precedent of it, just that one little limitation. Now it's got the warning labels. People need to be educated on it, on what its effects are and what it's gonna But I mean,
nobody worries about having a bar full of alcohol with their kids in the house.
No.
Yeah.
You have to educate people.
And that just shows you how much more of a hand that the alcohol guys have in this. I mean, I'm on page 13 right now. I was just looking to help Jesse quote that. And you see here where they first drafted the bill. They said, including by ensuring that marijuana and marijuana-infused products. And then they went back and struck that out and said marijuana products, and infused beverages. So they switched the word from products to beverages, so that they made sure that their product was protected.
Yeah,
and it's and that also shows who was lobbying for this bill way long ago when we weren't allowed.
Yeah, you know how many of my family members died from alcoholism?
It's how many from marijuana?
I can't think of a fucking one. I can't think of. No, I know a lot of folks that used marijuana on top of the alcohol, but they still suffered from, the effects of alcohol. You know how many people die a year from cigarette smoke. We know that fact. You know what I mean? They shove it. They know how many people die from secondhand smoke. They shove it down our throats, right?
Yep.
They know how many people.
Station.
Right, still at every gas station. Exactly. And has there been an uptick in domestic violence? No. Has there been a problem other than what they claim the issue? Like, I guess this was founded on, kids having access. Not for nothing.
That's what they say.
Not for nothing. Watch your fucking kids.
Literally.
Pay attention.
Literally.
Okay. If you don't know when your kid's stoned, you're a shitty parent.
And force the owners of the store to not sell to kids. I mean, not sell to kids.
I mean, that should be a non-question. You know what I mean? There shouldn't be there shouldn't be anybody out there thinking, "Oh, I didn't think I couldn't sell it." I mean, I worked for a Delaware CBD distributor, and we checked ID for CBD. You got to be 18 to buy a CBD. You know what I mean? Like, and for anything that we thought that was effective and maybe mood elevating, you had to be 21.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And that was like a farm stand. You dig what I'm saying?
Shop with common sense is doing that.
Anybody with common sense.
On the label on the bags of any trustworthy products, they're going to say 18 or 21 if it's got THC. So that's a given. That's not even. And I don't know why we're also hell bent on punishing kids, but okay, with not giving them booze or it's a joke. I'm sorry. Poor placement.
It builds character when you have to try to get it.
I mean, yeah. I mean, that's what makes me is I use cannabis for a specific reason.
Right.
The reason is I was addicted to opioids for a long time. Because of pain. I'm in constant pain. So I use a gambit of cannabis. I don't just, it's not just smokable hemp. I use gummies. I use topicals. I use everything. And this is going to severely affect me directly. And that makes me want to scream from the heavens. And I just, I'm so glad that I've, kind of weaseled my way into Jesse's, sphere and gotten the information that I've gotten from him. And he kind of,
right
what's that?
Right back at you.
Oh, thanks, man. I appreciate that.
Regardless of what's displayed here, you're a productive member of society.
Who, me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm as productive as I can be. You know what I mean? But that's not because of the hemp use. You know what I'm saying?
You'd be that productive without?
No, I wouldn't be. Without hemp products. Without hemp products, I would just be like a ball. I wouldn't move. They literally help me. They do. They help me live. And
I guess they just want us all to be balls.
They want to have control. It's what they want. They want control over things. And when they don't have control, then they
seize it.
They gotta find a way to get it.
Seize it, really. They do.
They do. Absolutely. But I'm out of questions.
What's going on?
I mean, if you have any,
my service is so bad today. I apologize for this.
What's that? Yeah, you've had a couple of things, but I think we've muddled through. I think it was pretty good. Cameron, do you have any closing thoughts on you want to leave us with?
Well, I would just say to business owners that are watching this, we need you now, and to consumers as well. Support your businesses, and we will take care of you in the end.
Now there's an online petition going around, and there's a way to contact the sponsor of the bill. And we will have those links in the description.
Yeah, we're encouraging everyone to reach out to their rep.
Yeah, we need to encourage everybody to reach out to the representative. We'll have those links in the description. I should have gathered them. A professional would have done that. See?
Yeah.
But
we gotta flash them on the screen.
We could have. That would have been awesome.
Yep.
Yeah.
Put them in the crawl, maybe.
We could have done that. You're right. There's so many things I could have done.
Uh-huh.
But
there's always next time.
But I want to thank you guys for coming on. I want to thank you guys for joining us, and we really want to be as loud of a voice as we can for this. Jesse, do you have anything you want to leave us with?
Just if HB98 if it passes, we're gonna see a massive disruption. Small businesses are gonna have to shut down or operate in legal gray zones, or even just move out of state. And then the number one thing I want to let everyone know is that the patients and customers they're going to lose access to their trusted products, and prices are going to go up because of supply chains are going to become monopolized. And Delaware is going to send a message to everyone that if you're not a corporation, you're not welcome. So this is a lot at stake here. It's bigger than even just hemp. I think it's all about small businesses.
It is, absolutely. All right, guys. Thanks for your time.
Yeah, appreciate it.
All right, guys. We'll see you later. We're gonna play this little outro and say goodbye.
Peace.
This episode of the Media Virus Podcast is brought to you by 302-46 Voice. That's 302-46 Voice. If you want my voice on your project, dial 302-46 Voice today. Don't forget to check out our sister show on the Media Virus Podcast Network, Stepmoms Without Children. Join Ricky Rockdef as she takes a deep dive into the fascinating people she meets and thinks that you should meet too. Find Stepmoms Without Children at themediavirus.com, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your fine podcasts. Special thanks to mysportsreports.com and delawaresports.com, delivering regional sports coverage straight to your devices via stream and podcast. Learn more at mysportsreports.com and delawaresports.com. If you wish to sponsor the Media Virus podcast, email your contact information to pml@themediavirus.com with the subject line sponsor, or leave us a message at 646-VIRUS01. On behalf of the infection team and our feckless leader, Matty Rockdef, I'm the Reverend Professor Mike Litoris, coming from to you live high atop Uncle Butch Studios, with one hand firmly on the pulse and the other clawing for a shred of sanity. This has been the Media Virus Podcast. We'll be back next week. Find us at themediavirus.com, on social media, or download us now from your favorite podcast platform.